If I told you that there was a movie about a satanic murder game involving clowns, a bunch of people dressed like they came from a LARP, a Hispanic neo-Nazi clown, two weird German killers, and a character named Doomhead, you might, understandably, be confused and wonder how on earth you have never heard of such a film. If I then told you that that film was made by Rob Zombie, then I think everything would make a lot more sense. This film is an affront to whatever god is in charge of filmmaking in general. It is an abomination, a truly unholy amalgamation of god-awful editing, sloppy acting, and a script that couldn't even really be called a story. This film feels like it was written by a 13-year-old, has the acting of a school play, and is apparently edited by cocaine. No, not someone on cocaine, just a pile of cocaine. I cannot stress enough that this film's editing is beyond awful. It is abhorrent. This film is not good. I don't think this film held on a shot for more than 3 seconds, but I loved it. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, kind of. Why do I think this film is actually good? Is that this film is split into two films. One is the previously mentioned So Bad It's Good film, made by Rob Zombie, that is absolute slop. And the other is a horrifying movie starring Richard Brake as Doomhead. This perfectly brings us into our first point about today's villain, Doomhead. And that is that when he is on screen, it's no longer Rob Zombie's film. Richard Brake takes over this movie, and it is now his film. I'm not talking about acting. I'll get to that appearance and philosophy a little later in this video. I'm talking about the feel of the film. Actors act in a disparate manner to the film. To the feel of the film, it usually creates a comedic effect. It can be seen in plenty of movies. I just watched Pet Sematary 2, for example. I forget that actor's name, but the sheriff. Hilariously fun because he does not match the tone of the film at all. So again, usually overacting is played for comedic effect. Nicolas Cage is a master of this. But sometimes you get a film that changes to match the character's intensity, and this is when it becomes unnerving. The best example of this would be The Nowhere King. His terror is enhanced because the usually bright and flashy TV show changes to match his intensity. Similarly, when Doomhead is on screen, the movie changes to match his intensity. Here's an example of a regular scene. And here's one with Doomhead.
Hello.
No flashing lights, no crazy cuts, just centrally focused filming and shots that are held for an almost uncomfortable amount of time. This just makes Doomhead feel even scarier, as the scenes with him feel eerie and alien to the rest of the truly abysmal film. This film is, I can't even say it's bad, it's so bad it's good. Another thing that is a sharp departure from the rest of the film is his appearance. Most characters in this film look like a cautionary tale on the dangers of a spirit Halloween. The character designs are so weird and bombastic that they feel mundane. In the immortal words of Syndrome from the first Incredibles, when everyone is dressed like a Slipknot reject, no one will be. I mean, there is one exception, and that of course is Sickhead, whose design is genuinely so just insane that I did have to peel my jaw off the floor with a crowbar when I saw it. And seeing as every character has a bombastic design that ends up just feeling bland because everyone is absolutely insane, Doomhead's design actually becomes even more terrifying because it is horrifyingly simple. White face paint, dark rings under his eyes, and a bloody nose. That's it. This stripped back look creates another point of fantastic contrast with the rest of the cast, and it looks ridiculously cool. It also gives good insight into his character, something I'll talk about later. But perhaps the most important thing that the stripped back visual design allows for, besides actually looking good and like it was done by competent makeup artists instead of the usual lead costume director of this film, which presumably was alcoholism, it allows for Richard Brake acting to fully shine through. I've seen many actors chew the scenery, from Nicolas Cage's freaking out in Mandy to Nicolas Cage freaking out in The Pig to yeah, it's mainly Nicolas Cage. Anyway, Richard Brake doesn't just chew the scenery though. He turns this movie into his own cooking show called Is It Scenery? I'm pretty sure in some shots you can actually see a boom mic sticking out of that's caught in Blake's teeth. But Blake isn't overacting. It's quite the opposite. Blake's performance is terrifyingly subdued. Blake plays the role of an absolute sadistic lunatic in a manner that was accurately described as his take on the Joker. His whispered pleasantries and little facts only serve to make his explosions even more terrifying. The absolute glee he has in murder and hedonism is only made far more petrifying because of these moments of composure that come beforehand. Doomhead comes alive because of his portrayal by Blake. Doomhead isn't necessarily special in terms of writing. Not necessarily. It's just fine writing. But it has more to do with the acting of Blake. Blake's acting just makes his character feel so real and so viscerally terrifying as he whispers and stares directly into the camera with those horrifying eyes as the blood slowly causes his makeup to slough off, leaving his bleached white face and dark ringed eyes. It's truly horrifying, and I love it. Now, usually, I usually try to draw some overarching conclusions about the nature of humanity, or some other philosophical point at the end of my videos. However, trying to extract substantive thought from a Rob Zombie film is like trying to extract joy from a Rob Schneider film. That is to say, it is almost non-existent, and if you do find any, it is 100% unintentional on the part of the director. So why then am I talking about philosophy in a film that appears to lack any semblance of the subject? Is it because Zombie actually set up a shockingly well-developed character? Is it that I don't like my videos to be shorter than 10 minutes? Is it... Actually, we can stop the list because it's the second option. Ego versus urge. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but this is the quandary, and I think it's actually fairly interesting, that Doomhead presents us with. Doomhead is clearly a very prideful person. We can even see this in his opening line. And even in that opening line, we can see how his pride is in direct conflict with his desire.
They call me Doomhead. Now, I don't call myself Doomhead, mind you, but they do.
They call me Doomhead. This introduction shows this tension between the person who Doomhead wants to be, something better, something sophisticated, a consummate professional, and his true violent nature, as he claims he doesn't call himself Doomhead, but he also makes no effort to deny it, that it is a fitting title, or ever try to give an alternative name. Throughout the film, we see this dichotomy between Doomhead's nature as a violent sadist and Doomhead's mental image of himself as a suave Agent 41. It is clear that he cares deeply about how he is perceived by others, but it's always overshadowed by his violent nature. He gives the group time to mourn and quotes philosophers about how they are warriors and warriors deserve time to grieve while their friend is crucified in front of them. And this is not a war. There's not warriors. It's cold-blooded murder. But in Doomhead's mind, he wants to be above that. He wants to be greater. This is what I think makes Doomhead truly scary. I'm going to need you to bear with me for a moment. See, the framing device of 31 is that these people have been captured for a game by these Satan worshipping elites. This could be a trashy excuse to have a plot. Actually, that's most likely what it is. But it might also be Zombies' piss poor attempt at commentary. But here's the thing. Doomhead is actually a beautiful example of the type of evil found in the elite class of people fueled only by their greed that Zombie seems to be depicting. Mr. Reviewer, is this the third rant about capitalism in 4 videos? Yet, is not YouTube, is our tube. I jest. I just found this kind of thought interesting and compelling when I was thinking about what I was going to say about Doomhead's character and philosophy. Doomhead is desperate to be above his desires and does everything to attempt to appear above them. One of the scariest lines in the film is when he says he would have had a pipe, but he thought that would make him look pretentious. See, he wants to be sophisticated and above the others while simultaneously wanting things that are much worse than what others want. And I think this could be reflected in many individuals. His repetition of "I'm not crazy, I'm in control" likewise reflects this, but like those real-life examples, he of course gives into his desires without care of appearance, despite outwardly looking like he wants to care about appearances. This conflict between desire and appearance can even be seen in its final shot. When Doomhead fails to kill the main character, he lets her go. He follows the rules of the game and admits defeat for a time. The final shot of the film shows how he ultimately lets his impulses win, as it heavily implies that he kills her after the game ends. And how often do we see this in real life? People saying that they want to uphold the rules of some kind until those rules contradict what they truly want, only outwardly holding the appearance of justice while inwardly holding on to their desires, their warped and twisted desires that make them the monsters that are in truth much more terrifying than Doomhead, for they are much, much more real. 31 is an interesting movie. It's not a good movie by any means, but it has spots of brilliance, and that's what I think makes it good, and that's why I enjoyed it. Because for all the schlocky action and dumb writing, and it is very dumb and very schlocky, you could feel an attempt. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, this was a little rambly because I went off script a few times, but I hope you guys understand. I got a video coming up, hopefully soon, on a video game and then a short story, because I think having consistency is for nerds and losers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as always. It means a lot to me. Leave a like, leave a sub, drop a comment. I love to hear suggestions. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as always, and peace.